Good afternoon. Today is May the 30th, 2020. This is the Service Hero Show. 365 days of awesome. Celebrate success through service. My name is Tamara Hunter, and today we are honoring a service hero that has actually been nominated by Andrea Adams Miller. Yes, we know her because of the Keep Smiling movement and also the red carpet connection. She is she's been right on target, I'll tell you lately, with the people that she has nominated. And I am so excited to be honoring and highlighting and telling the story of LuAnn. LuAnn Belchler, I think is how we say it.
Be- it's Beekler, like the beak of a
Buechler.
bird.
Okay, LuAnn Buechler. I should have asked. LuAnn Buechler is all about hugs and so much more. She is a business person that knows how to get things done. She knows about how to help others do the same. We're going to be talking about all of that today. She is also engaging in these times that we're calling COVID, that we're talking about the pandemic. She has modified what she's been doing, and she has been helping people to help the front line, those on the front lines right now, the here and now. And we're going to talk about that too. So I want to say welcome to our newest service hero.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you. I am excited that you're here too. You know, it's always quite the little journey sometimes to do the whole technical thing. And we had one of those today. And you know what? They're bonding moments because when you're working together, it goes back to again, when you have good people working together to make a common cause, something happen, the best of things happen. And that's exactly what happened today. And we got on. I'm excited. And I want to say hello, Helene Wilson, Chemo Buddies for Life, one of our ambassadors, the ambassador of our chat, and also one of my buddies. Helene, welcome. And I want to say your art project about the purple shoes, pretty cool, very cool. And she's letting us know she welcomes people as they come in. And Barbara Beckley, she is our chat host this evening in our closed group. She will be hosting Success Saturdays. I am glad you're here with us. We have Patty. Patty, so glad that you're here and taking a moment. I know you're involved in some type of a summit this week or weekend. However, thank you for stopping by. And we've got Julie. Julie, awesome. I'm so grateful. And she is actually going to be, guys, she's going to be overseeing our newsletter. Very exciting times. I'm so excited that everybody is starting to stop in and meet our newest service hero. So, LuAnn, you know, when I noticed where you live, I was like, are you okay? I mean, that was one of my first thoughts because you're right there in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm even in my Minnesota Vikings shirt today because I love purple. So I already want to know about these purple shoes. Whatever it is, it's purple. I want to know about it. So you have to pass that on to me. Anyway,
Absolutely.
so I appreciate your concern. I am concerned for my beautiful state of Minnesota. I love Minnesota. I am in the Rochester, Minnesota area, so I'm about an hour south of Minneapolis, St. Paul. So I'm not directly in the thick of things, although we had our own little, well, some called it a vigil and some called it a protest last night here in our town. Apparently, the president of the NAACP lives in Rochester, Minnesota, and so it was peaceful. There was no concerned directly in our city. I'm more concerned about my kids who are in their late 20s and living in the Minneapolis St. Paul area. So I've been checking in with them. They're very close to what's going on up there. So my concern and prayers is for them and everyone else involved in this. It's just totally out of hand. Interesting news report this morning said that all the people that were arrested in St. Paul last night are people coming from outside our state.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're like lifetime rioters, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what to call them, but they're here to make trouble. So you know, we know, most people might know that we call ourselves Minnesota nice, and so this is a real shock to the Minnesota nice culture to have this kind of thing going on in our state. So it's very sad.
You know, and I mean, I want to say that I have my family, my father's family originally hails from Minnesota. Yes, I have not been there myself. However, I've done the genealogy, I've done all the loading of the pictures, you know, all of this, all of that family history stuff. And in learning about and reading about all of the experiences that they had, that the family had in Minnesota before going to Southern California, because they were very, very, very tied into the Minnesota culture. And in fact, they didn't want to leave so much, but it was more of an opportunity. My grandfather was in aeronautics and he wanted to go where, you know, Spirit of St. Louis was happening. I mean, we're talking a while ago. But the thing about it though is that they always talked about Minnesota in such, like that Minnesota nice you're talking about. That's exactly, I mean, we're talking decades ago, but that is a culture. It's a cultural thing.
It
And
is.
so and we have quite a few people within our own organization that are involved in leadership, even that some of them are in, you know, living in the Minnesota area. And so yet, the thing about this is that there, and we're not going to get too far into this, but the thing about it is that there's a lot going on, not only now in Minnesota, it is spreading throughout other areas.
Oh yeah.
And this is where I love what you are doing, because you're talking about, well, we're going to get into it. We're talking about, you say it, and I'll bring up an image. You're
Well,
all about what? It's a three-letter word.
I'm all about hugs.
Yeah,
And
with a four-letter with the S. Yes, there we go. All
well,
about hugs, and and you're you really are dedicated to
well,
it.
my mission at the beginning of 2020, and actually it was being formulated in 2019. It came to me, I think it actually was early in the spring when in a meditation it came to me that my mission in the world was to iHug across America during the 2020 presidential campaign to spread love and human connection in the face of our political polarization, which this is a nonpartisan movement, let me be clear. I am totally non-political person. There's me, though, at the Pete Buttigieg rally. There's me at the Trump rally, hugging people, because what I knew is if I put myself in the space where the political events were happening, that's where the media was. And my goal was to get media recognition so that other people around the country would say, hey, I want to do that too. So it wasn't really, when I say iHug across America, it wasn't necessarily all about me. It was about spreading the message that we can all do this. Yes, there was a moment where I wanted Winnebago to give me a Winnebago and drive across the country and camp at KOA campgrounds and hug people all across the country. Still would love to do that, but no matter how I do that, I still can't reach everyone, right? So I need hug. You have ambassadors. I need hug ambassadors. I need hug ambassadors in every state in the country to be able to activate at moments like this, right? And bring to the environment the other message of love and hugs and human connection. You know, that's it. There is another gentleman out there that does hugs, and literally goes to places where people are rioting. That makes me a little nervous, but I think if the COVID wasn't here and this was happening in Minnesota, that I'd be right there. That's what we need. And there's lots of people in Minneapolis on the reports, including George Floyd's wife, who says, stop, stop the violence. This is not what George would want.
Right.
And we want our community back. We want, they love their community. All of us, white, black, tan, doesn't matter the color, right? Minneapolis is a beautiful community. And you can see it in the people that come out every morning after this, trying to clean up the streets. I haven't seen the pictures yet, but I heard on a radio news story that they were shoulder to shoulder with brooms sweeping down the street to clean up the mess. And so people are coming together out of this. And Tamara, that's the message I think the pandemic is here to teach us, is we are human beings. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. Support each other. Stop the violence, the hatred, the madness that's going on. Because, and you'll see on my iHug movement website, I talk about, if you look historically through history, any tragedy, whether it's Katrina, whether it's tornadoes, right? Whether it's Mother Nature or whether it's violence like this, we come together as human beings and support each other. And that's the message the world is telling us, the universe, God, whoever you support. And so I am loving into that and looking for all the places where that is true. All the places I just watch in my neighborhood, when I see families playing basketball together on their driveway or sitting around a little campfire in their yard, I'm like, yeah, we've been missing this. We've been so busy with our technology, so busy running our six-figure incomes or whatever people think they have to chase after, that we've been missing this human connection that is really what life is all about.
Absolutely. And in fact, you're talking right our language within the Chemo Buddies for Life community, because we actually dedicated 2020 to be the year of love, and actually then we went on to say the decade of love, and we are educating our community about love and the frequencies of love and how it can be a healing modality and how we can together help to raise the frequency of the world, if you will, through if you will, love is what we say. And so with now I'm understanding completeness that Andrea, she's, I knew you had to be somehow everyone that she has referred over to Service Heroes, they somehow have been completely also in alignment with what it is that we are doing within our community. And it's very interesting how the piggybacking to yesterday's Service Hero show to today's Service Hero show is, there's no accident in truth, because I don't know if you know Paz Simpson. However, he is also one of the Smile Book individuals, and he is working with a lot of the gangs and such in more the Allentown, Pennsylvania area. Yet he has been reached. He and his team either reached out or they reached out to him. But the wife, the family that you were just mentioning, they've been talking with him and he's been supporting them, and that's what he was saying on the show yesterday, is that no, this is not the way to do it. Community and working together, not rioting, not tearing everybody apart. That we need to come together, and that's one of the things that I would never have seen coming through the way that we had scheduled these shows. However, it's like, okay, there's no accident here when things happen like this, because the message that you are bringing forward, I hug, I am hugging and loving, and that loving energy that is involved in this, it is absolutely what we need to be doing to help with the healing that needs to take place at this very moment today on May the 30th, 2020.
Right.
And you have found a way, because we are also in the midst of a pandemic. We are still, I'm in the Southern California area, and I still, yes, you can see the roots, are the beauty salons are still not even open yet. We are slowly starting to come out of the closed down or the stay at home orders, but we're not completely out of them in our neck of the woods.
No.
And so when you then have this happening out there, we have unrest, and then on top of it, the whole stay away, have at least 6 foot distance. You have found a way around it, haven't you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to say I was noticing in all of the unrest across the country that our rioters are not social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
Nor can our police officers in these circumstances. Now they're protected with gear and so
Mm-hmm.
on, but a lot of the other individuals are not. So I fear that also coming forth out of all these people gathering in the streets will be more unfortunate illness from the virus. It's kind of scary. But yes, back when this all hit, everybody who is in my tight circle said right away, "Oh my gosh, LuAnn, what are you going to do? You can't hug anybody anymore," right? And I was on a show called The Conscious Pivot, and where I shared for the first time my solution, my solution to social distancing and talking through technology like this is simply bringing the language of sign language out into the world. Like, this has been a language that's been around for a whole community of people. Let us engage with it. And the sign language for a hug is simply crossing your arms across your chest like this. Now, you'll see sometimes people grab themselves and give a squeeze, which really feels good, actually.
It does. It actually does. Yeah, you're right.
It feels good.
Yeah, it does. Especially when, I have to say, especially when someone is like right now, you're doing it, I'm doing it, and it does feel good. Yeah. Okay, everybody else, come on, join us.
So the other thing is eye contact.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and the smile comes with it, right? This is why Ken and I connect. So you can hardly help but smile when you're hugging and connecting with each other's eyes. And
Uh-huh.
so it's a little harder through the technology, but it can be done. You can
Uh-huh.
make that connection and share love with your eyes with the other human being. How powerful will it be when we can be just 6 feet apart in a room somewhere or the grocery store where we could do this and look into each other's eyes?
Uh-huh.
So if I think everyone would agree with me, we've lost the art of eye contact in the world to begin with. If you get eye contact, it's always for a short period of time. And in the book, I talk about the power of transformational hugs. And we say that a typical hug is 3 seconds on average. And so a transformational hug needs to be 20 seconds. Hold on. Really enjoy that moment, right? Now,
Uh-huh.
when I do the virtual hugs online, we have a virtual hug happy hour every Monday at 5 p.m. to send love out into the world. And we just hug like this for 20 seconds. For me, it goes really fast. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it's over. 20 seconds seems like nothing.
Mhm.
But when you're in an embrace literally with someone, right? 20 seconds seems like a long time. Really, truly, historically, we grab on for about 3 seconds and let go. So when I can hardly wait till when we come back together and I literally can hug people. I mean, the struggle is real for us huggers. We miss totally is real. I went to my local farmers market 2 weeks ago. It opened up and we could go. Everybody's got masks on and some have gloves and things as well. They got sanitizer at the entrance. And a friend of mine's family owns an organic farm, and I wasn't even thinking about it. And I hear her yell my name across the aisle because we haven't seen each other in months, right? And
Right.
she's like, LuAnn. And I'm like running over to her and embrace her with hardly even thinking. I stopped right before I hit her, right? And I go, is it okay? And she's like, absolutely. And we embraced in a big hug. Again, we had our masks on and everything, but we so miss it.
Right, right. Well, and as you're talking about this, and I just want to also say that I've been trying to keep up with everybody's comments in here, and I love, this is one thing that you will get, in that we have a community that we chat every evening, and so they're used to talking with each other, and when they come together for Service Hero Show, they chat with each other too, and kind of like a midday check-in, see how it's doing, kind of like, if you will, a midday hug, in a way. And as you were talking about that time, of the hug, and I will tell you that I wasn't a natural hugger when I was a child. And I don't know if it was maybe a cultural thing within my family. I don't know if it was myself. I really don't know, but that was the case. And so then when you kind of like, okay, I knew huggers, but it was like, okay, I remember those days. Like, okay, you're hugging me. Are we done? Like, okay, do I stop breathing until we're done? Like, what do I do here? And because we didn't have those at home. There wasn't that hug environment. So then when I had my own children, oh my goodness, that's when I converted. It was like, okay, I am totally into the hugs, because it was like I couldn't get enough of those hugs with my kids.
Right?
And so not always. That's where like I was thinking the 20 seconds, and I'm thinking, is it pre-kids or post-kids? How could I handle this? And so not everybody is a hugger, and 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 you kind of then go back to, okay, now the ones that aren't huggers, how are they in society?
So I want to talk about that a little bit, okay? So the origination of the iHug button came, I don't know where to put it. There you go. You can see it really well.
Uh-huh.
Um, Came from a gentleman by the name of Robert McPhee, and Robert went to a Jack Canfield success seminar,
Mm-hmm.
and he thought he was going to a business seminar. There were 600 people in the room, and the first thing that Jack instructed everybody to do was to hug as many people as they could in the room. And Robert got really mad because he was not a hugger in his family. And so he was like, what am I? I'm supposed to be in a business seminar. Why is he making me hug people? And yet his heart started to melt.
Yeah,
The more
right, right, yeah.
the more people he hugged, the more walls and the more barriers that break down, which is why Jack does that at the beginning of a seminar to open people's hearts to the conversation that he's going to bring them to, right?
Right, right.
So Robert created the button to get more hugs because he was afraid to ask for them, but he knew how they made him feel. Okay? And so Robert came to a passion test facilitator conference that I was at, and he brought us all buttons. And we hug a lot in our passion test family. And so we're like, oh, this is great. We'll warn people. So we took it from that stance that I'm gonna hug you unless you stop me. So it was a warning symbol that I'm a hugger. So just so you know, I'm coming in if you need to stop. I've only had one person in, oh, it's probably been 9 years I've been doing this. I only had one person in all of that time go, "Don't touch me," and
Yeah,
and she
yeah.
was she was offended, and I blessed her. I was like, something bad happened to her from
Yeah.
someone touching her. And I was like, oh, God bless her. I hope that she gets through that, because the human hug is so important. Well,
Yeah.
then what started happening is that I would forget I was wearing it, and I would wear it anywhere, not just at conferences. I'd be at the grocery store or on an airplane or wherever, and I have my button on, and people would approach me and they'd go,
Mhm.
I need a hug too. Okay, sweetie, can I give you a hug? Yes. And I would give them a hug. And so it started to become a human experiment. I wanted to see how people were going to react to it and what they would do. And so in my book that you showed earlier, right,
Mhm.
I wrote, it's a beautiful little coffee table book. I wrote stories of experiences with people who approached me because of the button, or, commented on the button, as well as scientific support and a lot of other transformational leaders, how they have written about hugs, is all combined into this little book. It's just put a smile on your face, which is what we want to do, right? So if you need to
Right.
lift up, you can read a paragraph or a chapter and get a lift of why hugs are so important in our world. So that's how it all came about. And then um, a marketing guy. He was trying to help me formulate my message around passions, and
Mhm.
he went, "Oh, LuAnn, passion smashing. Everybody's talking about passion." He goes, "That little button you wear on your chest is way more important and way more interesting to me than passion is." And he said, "You ought to do something like crazy, like iHug across America or something." And then he left the conversation and he was like done with me, and I'm like, what? What? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? And I literally said, okay, LuAnn, just sit with it. Sit with it, meditate, pray on it, and see what comes up. And that's when this whole thing about I hugging across America in 2020 came to me and came really clear. That's what I needed to do. And so you showed another picture. I got to continue my story if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. Please do.
So I shared with a friend that I was gonna I hug across America in the face of the political polarization, and she, very political individual, she's like, you can't do that. You're too naive. You're too kind. You're too. I'm 4'11". You're too. Someone's gonna hurt you, LuAnn. She was like, you're gonna get hurt out there. You can't put yourself in the political arena. No way. And I'm like, why? Who would hurt me? I'm just a little 4'11" woman, I'm sweet as can be. Who would hurt me? And about a week later, she called me up and she said, okay, I got a challenge for you. If you think you can do this, Donald Trump is coming to Minneapolis. This was November 2019. He's coming to Minneapolis. You go hug people at the Trump rally. And I'm like, all right, a challenge accepted.
I love it.
Now, the city of Minneapolis, love the city of Minneapolis, did a really amazing thing. And they separated the Trump supporters from the non supporters, right? I don't need to call them protesters, but from the non supporters. And they literally pushed all of the supporters through the skyway systems and the parking garages to access the Target Center building instead of through the front doors. And they blocked off the block around the front doors, and they let all the non-supporters, people wanting to protest on the streets, if you will, they kind of corralled them in that area. So the two parties didn't meet until after the rally was over. And if anybody watched this, the only news that you saw was what happened after the rally when those two groups converged together. Prior to the rally, it was an entirely peaceful city and all was well because the groups were separate. And so I ended up in the Trump line. That's one of the pictures you're showing there. All these people filing in. We were underneath an overpass. It was raining that night. And so I was protecting myself under an overpass. And I got my free hug sweatshirt on. And I had people with me who just were supporting me. They didn't mean to hug anybody. Carrying free hug signs like that with me. I'm passing out stickers if you gave me a hug. It's like I voted, I hugged, so I give them a sticker. Get it? Uh, my
I
children,
love it. I love it. Yes.
my children, God bless them, they weren't up to hugging other people, but they were there and they were yelling at the crowd what I was doing so that people would come over to me. And
Hmm.
by and large, people came to me. They stepped out of the line and they'd come over to me. I don't, force into them. I just wait for them to come to me.
Right.
And they would come to me to get their hug and they would whisper in my ear, "This is what people need. This is so great. Thank you for coming. That felt so good. I really appreciate that you're here." That kind of thing. By and large, that's what people said. There were a couple skeptics that would look at me out of the line like, "What are you up to, lady? What are you
Right.
doing?" And they wouldn't come over and hug me, and that's okay. And I'd go, "It's just a simple hug. I have no agenda. Just a hug. But that's okay. I'm not going to force you know? But by and large, people were like, "This is awesome." And then they started to say, "Hey, you got to go hug those other people. They're the ones that are angry and they're pointing. You got to hug those other people. They're the ones that are angry." Because this line was completely peaceful. Absolutely. But then I went, "Okay, who are these other people?" And they're
Right.
like, "They're on the other side of the building." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went to the other side of the building. And
Right.
here in this area, out in front, in the front entrance, are what you would call today protesters. And they had masks on. This was before we needed to wear masks, by the way. They had masks on because they were hiding their identity.
Right.
They had whistles, they were blowing whistles. They had signs that said "hate never cured hate." And I'm like, "Well, that's correct. So why are you acting in hate?
Mhm.
If you think that's true, hate never." But I again don't confront them on what they're doing. I
Mhm.
just walk around with my sign and my sweatshirt, and they're like, "I want a hug." I'm like, "Okay, great." And then we have a hug, and they say the same thing. "Thanks for being here. This is what we need in the world. Thanks for doing this. We're so glad you're here." I'm like, if you only could hear each other.
Right. Right. So you were from both camp. You went into both camps
I went into
with
both camps and all I did is hug people. And
and
I,
and you got the same reaction. They all wanted something as basic as love
uh,
and a hug.
yep,
And that would just cure so many of the, if you will, ailments possibly, and maybe put them on some kind of a level playing field possibly. I mean,
and you can't be angry at someone after you give them a hug. Seriously, try
right.
it. Try it. You're angry with your spouse or your child. Go give them a hug. Go give them a hug, and it diffuses the entire situation. And now we can have a different conversation.
Okay,
I'm
so a question in regards to that. When you're giving these hugs, do you do the 20-second hug, or it's just whatever they'll go with?
just whatever they go with.
Because what I'm thinking here is like, yeah, I can understand why you're saying, if this wasn't a time where COVID was taking place right this minute, it would be an excellent time to to open up a whole hug group. I mean,
All
it,
right.
and it's something that, quite honestly, my mind would not have gone to right off the bat. And that's why I'm really glad you're here, because we really, do I think about love changing things? Absolutely. The actual hug, I don't know that that's something I would have necessarily gone to. But when I went to your website, which is the iHugMovement.com, I believe, right? iHugMovement.com. You guys need to go check it out. The goal, the million hugs for 2020, that's clearly stated there. And then also, you were talking about, I didn't see so much the virtual hugs really being mentioned, but I love the counter. Like, you're at this point, you have this many hugs. Now, you know, of course, my mind goes, how do you know?
Well, literally, when I was out doing it, okay, because I actually started right. I went to the Iowa caucus. I went to the New Hampshire primaries, After that Trump rally, I'm like, I'm going. And my friends around the country invited me to their cities. You could stay at my house, come hug in New Hampshire. Okay, great. So in New Hampshire, I went to the Pete Buttigieg rally just because that's what was going on, and that's where there was a large number of people and a large number of press. Okay? And so I hand out the stickers and I count how many stickers I handed out.
Oh,
So I
okay.
know how many
Sure.
hugs that I gave. So that's how I was counting. So you're right, counting the virtual hugs, I have been less than efficient at. So the counter kind of stopped with this sticker business that back then. But I want to tell you a quick story too about the Buttigieg rally. So I'm walking around, and if you've ever been to a political rally, they tell you to be there at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever it is, and it's a whole hour before you ever see the candidate. So here we all are in this huge, I think it was like a field house or a indoor tennis court or something like that. I can't remember. But there's all these people in there, hundreds of people, and the whole back of the room is lined with media. Fox News, MSNBC, whatever, all of them are there. And they start to get bored interviewing people about the candidates because, okay, we heard the same thing over and over again. So finally, they, they started going, what's your story? What are you doing? What are these hugs about? Kind of thing. I was interviewed no less than 6 or 8 times. Not one story hit any news because I would not pick a political party. Every one of them asked me, and who are you voting for? And my comeback is, you are unable to ask me that. Our system is designed to be confidential, and I have no desire to tell you and no need to tell you. It's not about that. It's about hugs, right?
Right.
And the Fox News guy, big old microphone with Fox News on it, and he takes the microphone away as soon as I say that, and he brings out his iPhone and he says, this'll make good Twitter content. So he was already admitting he'll never get this on Fox News, and yet he was willing to tweet about it. I didn't even see that happen either. But it's interesting. So I've only had one column, and it was a columnist after the Trump rally in Minneapolis. She called me up. Her reporter had interviewed me on the street. I didn't meet her. And she said, I want something different. Everybody's going to be writing about the same thing. I want something different. Tell me about this iHug thing. What are you doing? And so she interviewed me over the phone, and she wrote a great story that you can see on the website as well.
Right. I thought that was probably the one you're referring to. I did look it up, and I have to give you a lot of props, in regards to it. And I wanted to also I didn't know if you saw it, but Andrea is here with us, Adams Miller. And if you didn't catch the beginning of the show, guys, that LuAnn is actually a nominated service hero, and Andrea and Ken from the Smiles Movement. They are the Keep Smile movement. They are the ones that nominated LuAnn, and I can see why completely, because it's like hand and glove stuff, really, because one of the things that with the fact that you're showing up in a place and time that can be considered quite stressful, because people are really becoming very passionate about their choices. And I'm not going to go there, because even in what you're sharing right now, it would be really easy to, and I'm not going to go there in where does it start, the chicken or the egg theory, because of the fact that you have to choose something to get it on the news. Okay, no, we're not going there here. What we're doing is we're saying people on the Service Hero show that are serving others, that are finding a way to make a difference in the world, They are the ones that need to be highlighted. We need to do these interviews. We need to get these messages out there. We need to inspire people to do good. And that's exactly what you're doing here. And you're willing to go into the, if you will, the face of, you're going into the lion's den in many ways. You know, it's like, okay, you have the courage of the cowardly lion that he was looking for but had all along. And your friend saying you're only so hot, you know. But you know, many people, the size, someone's heart, someone's attitude, you know, it transcends. It goes back to who you are as an educator. And you know, because you're a transformational trainer. Before we're done, I still want to know what a passion test facilitator is. You know, we're going to find that out, guys, because that's what's on her profile. Passion, no, passion test facilitator. Does anybody know, before we find out from LuAnn, I'm putting it out there. Does anybody know what that is? Because I've not heard that one. And so I want to see if, and Andrea, you cannot answer because I know you know. Okay, so you're off the table here. And maybe even there will be a prize. A virtual hug, yes. And but okay, so but before we go, I want to go here again where we were talking about your courage. You know, you may be, you know, a lot of the women in my family
Stature.
are lower than, you know, are including my daughter, I think just hits 5 foot, right? You know, I'm the tallest woman that's ever been produced by my family, and I'm not much more than that. But you know, many of the women, and then they've kind of shrunk, and so they end up being shorter than many kids, you know. It's like, but they're my aunt, yeah, I'm thinking you just remind me of my Aunt Gladys. She was out there with her Model T, you know, like when, or whatever it was that had one crank cars, you know, and she didn't let anything stop her. By golly gee willikers, she was right there in the middle of it. And that's what I see for you. Yeah, you're
Well,
all about
I
hugging.
So I think that well, first of all, people say to me, especially men will say this to me. Yeah, you can get away with this, LuAnn, right? Based on I'm not scary in my stature and my size, and therefore I can get away with it. No one's going to be afraid of me in that sense, which is cool. But you know, I never in my lifetime, well, for a very long time, let's put it that way, in my lifetime, I never knew I was short. I mean, people said that word, but I didn't feel small, you
Right,
know? And
right.
I'll never forget when I finally had the realization. I think I was 18 or 19 years old, and I was shopping with a girlfriend, and I pointed out a woman across the store, and I'm like, look how tiny she is. And my friend said, she's taller than you. And I'm like, no, no, she's yes, she is. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like it was a really interesting realization. And so um the being my authentic and vulnerable self right now, I will say that over the years and all my transformational work on myself, I have learned that the energy and the heart and the love that I put out into the world and the light is so much bigger than
Yeah.
what my physical body is, and that's what people see. They don't know it necessarily, although there are a few of my transformational friends who see that aura, that light around me, and they're the ones that have helped me to understand it. But yeah, that's why I don't feel like I'm only 4'11.
4'11. You know, you are a giant, though. I mean, really, because of what you're doing. And so I want to go into what it is that you're doing. So let's talk about that because really, passion test facilitator. What is it?
All right, so can you see the book over my shoulder? Called The
Yes.
Passion Test. So, The Passion Test is a best selling book written by Janet Bray and Chris Atwood. And when I got the book, I fell in love with the message of the book. They are both members of the Transformational Leadership Council with me, which is where I got the book. That's what the transformational leaders do whenever they have a new book, new idea, new concept. They bring it to our meetings and they say, "Here, everybody have a copy and spread the message in the world." Well, then they began their certification program where they certified people to work with the content within the book. So that's the language of I'm a certified facilitator of the passion test process. And it is a process, it's a philosophy, it's a way of life. It is not a test. There's nowhere you can go online and take the test. However, if you're familiar with the Strength Finder, have you heard of the Strength Finder? So the Strength Finder is a test that Gallup does that you can go online and you can take this test for like $25 and it identifies your top 5 strengths, your talents, innate
Yeah.
skill.
Okay. Yeah. It sounded familiar. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I do know what that is. Yes.
Powerful tool. Highly recommended to anyone.
Yeah.
I call it the scientific methodology at getting at who you are. The passion test is the heart and soul methodology at getting at who you are and just who God designed you to be. And when you take the two pieces and you put your skills and talents with your passions together, it's a powerhouse of knowledge of just who God designed you to be, and go do that. Stop comparing yourself to anyone else. We women are terrible about that. Stop trying to keep up with someone else. Stop trying to do exactly what someone else does. Doesn't matter. We're all each unique, beautiful characters. Play your part and do that. Step fully into authentically who you are. And when you do, I say when you get connected to your life's flow, everything comes easier. It just feels better. I'm not trying to be somebody else, look like somebody else, do what someone else is doing. I'm doing me. And
Right.
doing me is easy.
And that's when, like you were saying, your authentic self. And there's so many people that are now starting, or maybe I'm just starting to see it. I don't know, either one of the two. But like I did notice, like on your information, that you've got so many. I just grabbed a few of them. Wonderful thank yous, like thank you for the help, thank you. Let's see, yes guys, I am, and in fact for some reason I'm like having some issues today with seeing, but this presentation was moving, kind of like helping me to get a part of who it is that I am, is what I was basically reading from most of these. That and you had just so many, thank yous, thank yous, and thank yous, and thank yous. Thank yous for helping me to figure out who it is that I am. Thank you for helping me to tap into what it is that I want in life. Thank you, for all of these, so many beautiful, different thank yous. And so then as I was looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, hugs, love. Thank you for helping me to find my passion. Thank you for me, helping me to get in touch with me. You're out there in the world when there is stress and within our freedom, if you will, because we are one of the luckiest countries in the world that we do have the ability to have these different opposing views. And even if there is some stress involved, but you are there sharing, hey, we can get through this together. And today is a good day to be talking about this message. In that, in your backyard, you're in your purple.
Yep.
And you're in Rochester, and you are only about an hour away from a lot of where this started. You have your 20-year-old adult family members that are there within blocks.
Yeah.
And you have, and they have shown up with you in these environments, right? And I have to say, you've got to be feeling like you have set them up well,
Mm.
because of the fact that they they have seen you in environments that have been stressful, and you went there with the passion and purpose of love and hugs, and that we can get through some tough stuff. I mean, you read everything about it. You know,
Thank you.
you're welcome, because I'm just thinking right now, if I were you right now in that situation, I would be thinking they have to be probably some of the most um, calm, I would think, that if because
Well,
of that.
I would like to think so. Interesting note. My daughter is also a passion test facilitator. We really went to training when she was 16 years old. So 10 years ago, she and I went to training. 11 years ago, she and I went to training together. And so she is certified in the same work. At that time, she was certified to deliver it to kids and teens because we have a kids and teens program specifically focused on helping our kids and teens get this information earlier. It's a beautiful program. If anybody can help us get it into school systems, we would love that. It's a beautiful, beautiful program. But now she's become a mental health therapist. And so she uses it as one of her tools in her practice. But yes, I'd like to believe that, and both my children have, of course, experienced it, that they see that their mother's work and that has given them a different perspective of the world that keeps them calm and happy. So I sure hope so. I'm going to take a moment too while I'm thinking about it to really thank Ken and Andrea for nominating me. This is just fantastic. And if you noticed, you were unable to show the whole thing because it's a rectangle, but the mission of the passion test facilitators is to inspire transformation through love in service to humanity. And so we are always in service, and that is one of my passions, to be in loving service to others in everything that I do, because that is so rewarding. And when you see people flip a switch because they go, oh, maybe I can hug people, or I know what I'm passionate about and what I can go do in the world, and it's like this light bulb goes off inside of them, and that's so fulfilling to see that happen. And so I'm very blessed to get to do the work that I do in the world.
And Helene is saying, thank you, LuAnn, for all you do in your life while you're impacting the world around you. I appreciate you for all you are doing with hugs. And that right there, I think really just shares that you today have served so many people with what your mission is, what you're feeling called to do. I know that you're a transformational, master trainer. You do all sorts of you're an author on multiple different books. You're also like you're involved in the business BNI stuff, in Minnesota. You've got a lot of stuff going on, and yet today, and I want people to know this, that, yes, LuAnn is amazing with her heart and love and hugs. She's a businesswoman too. So, keep that in mind, guys. But today, given the situation of what's happening in the world and in our neck of the woods in so many areas, I really feel as though it was not an accident for your love and your smile and your ability to share how important it is, even with the virtual hugs today. That what I'd like to do is drop myself down from the line for a moment and give you a few moments with everybody to give a nugget, any inspirational thought, something that you feel would be appropriate for you to leave with everybody. And then I'll come back up and then we'll close out the show. Okay.
Okay. So I really appreciate this opportunity, and more than anything, I want people to live in joy. Life is too short to live it any other way than to be living in joy, and you can choose joy. Finding your passions help you find joy. Giving a simple hug helps you find joy. So whatever is going on in your world, look for where you can find joy in every day. Despite what's going on in my beautiful state of Minnesota, there is joy in the world. There is joy, and we can find it, and we look for those things, we make more of it. Yes, there will be evil on the other side. Always it seems to appear, but we have to work hard to put joy in the world, and we can do it. And I don't mean hard work of labor. It's just to remind ourselves consciously to choose joy. Choose what in this moment is joyful for me. I take care of my 90-year-old mother. And Tamara was just telling me how blessed I am to still have my mother. I needed that reminder today to stay in joy with that experience, that I am blessed she's still here. So we all need those reminders, and I hope you enjoyed the experience today. If any of you would like to experience the passion test, I'm delivering that as an online workshop these days, and I can do coaching online. So I'm sure that Tamara will put out all the ways to reach me.
Yeah.
And we'll close out with that, right? Can I finish that statement?
Oh, yes, go ahead. Please do.
So you can find me in all the events that I do at LuAnnB.com. It's just that simple, LuAnnB.com, on my event calendar where the online passion test workshops are, and other joyful adventures that we take and hope to be taking in the future. So there's lots of ways to experience the passion test with me. And I always do a free 30-minute consultation with anyone before I start working with them in any way. So that's you can opt into that on my website as well. And that's the iHug movement spins off of that, but also has its own webpage, ihugmovement.com, and you can become a volunteer on there, right? No charge, nothing. I just want to know who wants to be a part of the movement, and so I call it a volunteer. Love it. Thanks again for having me today.
Oh, you're welcome. You know, we love it too. In fact, we say that all the time. That's our, you know, like that's part of what we call it, the love it movement. And so you're talking our language, you know, yes, thank you, Sherry. Let's see. I think it's Lou.
Okay, there's no E.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. There's no E in there, Sherry.
Yeah. So it's just LuAnnB.com. But thank you, Sherry. And so she's amazing. One of our senior ambassadors. And then iHugMovement.com. Yes, thank you very much for putting that in. And so as we'll make sure that all of your contact information is in, and also know that we will be putting this show up into YouTube. So anybody that watches it and goes over to YouTube, guys, subscribe to the channel. I would love it because we still need about 20 subscriptions or people that, and so then we can have a custom link to make it easier to get into the channel. You know, I'm finally loading those shows in, and there you go. Thank you so very much for doing that. Thank you. So as we close today, you know, I want to say thank you for coming today, and thank you for being so real. And I know that there's so much going on, and you showed up, and maybe not everybody would have. And I want to recognize that too, because in fact, I really thought about that when I started realizing, okay, where you were and everything. And then when I asked and you're like, oh yeah, just around the corner. My heart just, you know, jumped out, but I then knew, okay, there had to be a reason that all of this was happening today. So guys, as we are closing the show, I'm closing it slightly different because I want people to understand that when people show up with love, when people show up with unconditional, loving hugs, if you will, there's a reason that we are all meant to connect. And it may be that you yourself may be like I was before I had my kids, and maybe you need this message to possibly help to melt some of that, and so that you may open yourself up to a little bit of the loving energy that can also be healing energy, because that absolutely has now been proven, is that when we draw into that loving frequency and loving hugs energy, it can actually be healing for not only our emotions and our souls, but our actual bodies too. Right?
So that's the name of the smile book I'll be a part of with Ken. Hugs Heal.
There you go. There you go.
Mhm.
Interesting. I just felt like I was interesting how it works, because there's something to it and it's real. It is really, truly real. And anybody that doesn't know why this show was started and why the movement was started, that I have the nonprofit, it was because of my doctors and my nurses. And so it comes back to, there is actual science to all of this. And that's where I'll leave it, because today, being May the 30th, 2020, the show, Service Heroes Show, 365 Days of Awesome, celebrate success through service. I want to say thank you to Andrea Adams Miller, and thank you to Ken Rashawn, the Keep Smile Movement, for nominating this amazing woman, LuAnn, that she is absolutely today designed to be with us. There's no doubt in my mind, no accident at all, that she is sharing hugs and love, something that seems very simple and yet is absolutely needed today because of what is happening in our world, the pandemic, the riots, everything. They need something as simple as a message of hugs and love. Don't overlook it, and don't let it seem so simple that you say, I don't need that. No, you do, especially if you think that way, because you know it very well could change what is happening today, the here and now. So thank you. Thank you, LuAnn, for being here with us.
My pleasure. I'm totally honored. Thanks for what you're doing to spread powerful, positive messages into the world. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. And for all the buddies, any of the Chemo Buddies for Life that are stopping by, remember today is Saturday. That means Barbara Beckley, our dominant lady, is going to be hosting our chat, and it's always Success Saturdays. And she has a guest today I'm so excited about. So join us in the closed group. And if you haven't joined us yet, and if you would like to, find us on the Chemo Buddies for Life page here on on Facebook. Go to the closed group, the Chemo Buddies for Life community, and ask to join. And all we ask is that what happens in the closed group stays in the closed group. All right. See you there at 5 o'clock tonight Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, and hugs and love to you all and to you, LuAnn.
And
Make
to
it a
you.
great Saturday, guys. Bye.